And we're live. And we're live for another episode of Slaaap Haaapy. We're back. We're back, people. We're back. We're doing it. I'm here. You know, we didn't ever leave, but yeah, I'm back. Back to make some little content, and hopefully entertain the masses, which is you. Look, a couple things. Just moved to Brighton, you know. Just moved to Brighton, beautiful place, lovely part of the world. So far, so good. Got a new little office set up here, which is proving to be quite lovely at the moment. Actually, went for a walk on Brighton Beach, you know, the first week we got here, and god damn, that's a really nice beach. That's a nice ass beach. So well done to Brighton for having it. This episode is basically just an introduction to a podcast that I filmed recently or was on recently called Trawling with 10 Baggers with Sam and Joel. They invited me on the podcast, and look, it was really fun. Really fun. Bit of context. Earlier that day, I was doing a bit of soul searching on account of the fact that I traded like an absolute dummy. Just kind of blew up in NVX, shorting it in the match just for no reason. And then missed a really good opportunity to get back on side with Whisper. There was a really nice fade opportunity there. And I just kind of like blew up. Went for a bit of soul searching at lunch. Came back in the Arvo, traded K&I into the close and you know, regained some of my position. But then, had to go into the podcast with these guys immediately after. And it was interesting because, you know, on the one hand, I'm feeling a little bit like I let myself down, feeling a bit low. Genuinely, it was like soul searching at lunchtime and just really not feeling great. But, the juxtaposition of having to then go and talk about those things on the podcast with these guys was actually like, I kind of seen the irony in it, or the I seen the funny side of it. But it was actually kind of fitting because the podcast that they wanted to shoot was on the idea of mental health and managing your emotions as a trader, and what like their audience, who are all kind of like longer term investors and stuff like that, could glean from, you know, this young man who's like, you know, smashing his head against the wall more often than not and finding a way to get through it, which is basically what I talked about on this podcast. I felt after the podcast that I had gone a little bit too deep on stuff. I felt like I was a little bit too raw. I felt like I was a little bit too like uncensored. But looking back on it, that was just me being me, and I actually feel like it worked to the advantage of myself and the show overall. So yeah, guys, that's basically a little bit of an intro into where I'm currently at and what this podcast is about. Now, there is no video for this one, just audio. So I'm just going to have like a nice photo of myself as the, kind of screensaver for the YouTube version of this, if you're listening there. Otherwise, you're going to hear the audio and you'll probably just love it. But anyway, I will be starting to work on a little bit more content now that I've set up, and I feel a little bit like, I've got a bit of breathing room from the drawdown that I just recently came out of. I will be doing a Slaaap Haaapy episode on that, probably a Trading Spaces show on that as well. Definitely going to get back into both of these into the full swing in the very near future. But just want to ease my way in and just kind of get a little bit comfortable and give myself some breathing room from, a few of the things that I've just been battling with and just got on the other side of. So that's the end of that. This is my chat with Sam and Joel for Trawling for 10 Baggers, their podcast. And hope you enjoy it. All right. See you guys.
Thanks for joining us, listeners. Today we're joined by Savilian, or Savas as it's affectionately known as. Savilian is a day trader, a scalper, known for his music, but also for his ability to be open and honest and sharing in his trading journey along the way. We felt like this is a conversation that we've been wanting to have personally for quite some time. Ultimately, trading, speculating, investing, you're up against yourself. You go through ups and downs. You're in conflict. Ultimately, you need to have strategies in place so that you can succeed. Your game needs to be sharp, and this conversation is about that, specifically about how you can improve your game and improve your mental health. Savas, thanks for jumping on the show.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
I guess first point is talk us through your background, your story, and how you got into trading, mate.
So my story kind of starts and ends with Nicholas Fabrio. I worked with him at the casino back in like 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. I was dealing poker there. He was dealing roulette, and we kind of met each other in the cafeteria on a night shift, and we were both kind of zombies from doing 4 a.m. starts and just kind of hating life. So we decided, we'd be friends and kind of hate life together. And we kind of hit it off, and we ended up just kind of, becoming good mates. And many, many years later, after many adventures and a whole lot of regrets, we decided to take up day trading, and then he decided to kind of introduce it to me, basically say, hey, Sav, I've got this thing going on. I think you'd be good at it. And the reason he decided to ask me or kind of present it to me is for the fact that I had a lot of experience with gambling, a lot of it not so good, but I also had some experience gambling, playing poker semi-professionally. So I had a fairly good idea of what risk looked like, and the concept of kind of going all in with aces and folding weak hands. That very general kind of understanding of when to put risk on and when to manage risk. And he kind of thought that with that kind of foundational understanding of risk, that I'd be a good candidate to be a match or at least a scalper. And he basically just said, I'll teach you how to do it. And up until then, this is late 2018 or mid 2018. So up until then, I actually had zero relationship with anything to do with the markets. Like I didn't know what the ASX was. I knew nothing about companies. I knew nothing about trading. I knew nothing about finance. I come from like a arts background and events background. So I'd always been involved in music or music events. So I never dabbled. I never invested. I barely even had any money in my bank account. So yeah, money, finance and trading were things that I knew nothing about until Nick introduced it to me in 2018. And then, 3 years later, I'm still doing it full time.
Yeah, so you mentioned like you got into the markets after being referred. What's your sort of style of trading now? Are you doing short term or long term or?
So Nick, who introduced me to trading, his primary is around scalping, day trading. So intraday trading, primarily scalping. Basically, what that means is quick movements, quick trades, in and out, based off order flow. And generally, we're trading off strong catalysts like news catalysts, maybe sector catalysts, but it tends to be in stuff with high volatility. It tends to be in stuff that's has big quick movements, and we're really just trying to take like small segments of those movements based on. So we're reading the order flow, we're getting in, we're getting out, we're taking like 10, 15 ticks, and we're really just limiting our downside by getting out at the first sign of danger. So yeah, we kind of do that. It's like high frequency trading, a lot of turnover, in and out all day. No kind of like average trade time is like maybe 3 or 4 minutes. We're like not holding overnight. We're not speculating on kind of long-term stuff. We're not swing trading. It's just
I was going to ask that. So you're not investing. You're not doing like fundamental research and analysing the company. You're just there, short and sweet.
Literally just order flow in and out. Buy it at $1, sell it at $1.05, and then get on with my day. And
okay.
we're only trading off of stuff generally in the first like 15, 20 minutes when all the volatility is kind of there. Like when, kind of the match sequence, and just after then, kind of post-match drives is generally like where we're finding our biggest setups.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's probably really different to what a lot of our listeners approach the markets, but I think many of the things that we'll talk about will be directly relevant, to a lot of the mental strategies and things that you've got to have challenges with will definitely apply.
And Sav, I suppose it's worth just pointing out that, you know, even though you've been quite honest and upfront from the get-go about when we talked about doing this recording, about you having a very sort of specified niche, you just mentioned a few of the hallmarks about why we wanted to explore this topic, and that is that, you know, essentially speculating is gambling, and you are battling with your emotions on a daily basis. So I guess just to premise this whole episode and what it's about, it's really trying to educate punters, educate speculators about, you know, some of the things that you've observed as a newer trader and someone that's coming into the game with, you know, a modest skill set but a gambling background, and how you're managing it. So going back, obviously you're a croupier, you were, you know, doing late shifts. What happened next? What got you into sort of, you know, having a few punts?
Yeah, so it's actually the whole relationship with gambling and how it kind of relates to trading and day trading and scalping specifically. Like, it's a really interesting kind of winding road that I'm still learning about. Like, it's a bit of a hit and miss, push and pull kind of relationship that I have with it. Some days like it's my greatest asset, and other days it's honestly my kind of like the biggest thing holding me back. So yeah, it's a tricky one, and something I'm sure we're going to cover throughout the conversation. But I guess to kind of kickstart it, like I actually so in 20, I'll take it just because it gives like really good context to the whole story. Like in 2005, I was a fanatical golfer. And I basically, when I was in year 10, I think at the time, or 2004, I had dreams of kind of playing professional golf. Maybe not like, you know, the toppest level, but at least going and training and becoming like a club pro and just kind of having a life in golf somewhere. I was like really obsessed. I would play before school. I'd get up at like 5:30 in the morning, play like a couple of holes before school. I'd like, you know, kind of in summer, I'd play until the sun went down at 8 o'clock at night. I was just, you know, completely obsessed. And what happened was I got hit in the eye with a golf ball. And yeah, it was pretty hectic. Yeah, I got hit in the eye with a golf ball, and it was a pretty severe injury. I had a fractured eye socket, and I basically they thought I basically lost my eye, and I got we were living in Coffs Harbour at the time, and the air ambulance had to take me to Sydney to kind of rush to Sydney Eye Hospital for emergency surgery or something like that. Yeah, so that was pretty hectic. It turned out that I didn't lose my eye. I have some complications with it now. I've lost some of my sight, but I got to keep the eye, and I didn't die. So those were some pretty good things. And yeah, what happened was a couple of years later, my parents kind of sued the golf course for negligence. There was a few different things that they'd done that were kind of negligent, and I ended up getting a $90,000 payout. And this is when I was like 19, and I basically hadn't had more than like $500 in my bank account up until this point in time. So I'm 19, just finished school, got $90,000 in my bank account, gave a little bit of money to my mum and dad, nan and pop brothers and stuff like that. But essentially I got like, you know, maybe $60,000, $70,000 in my bank account. And I moved down to Sydney. This is when I start working at the casino, start dealing poker. And I'm basically a 19-year-old kid living in the city with no responsibilities and a whole heap of money. And it basically just was a recipe for disaster. I started like dabbling in pokies after I'd finished work, obviously being at the casino and being surrounded by gaming and working with people who like game all the time. Like everybody who works there gambles. Like that's pretty much what everyone does. Like you finish a shift, you go play pokies. And just being involved in that environment, I kind of got sucked into it. And what happened was I developed a really shitty relationship with money and gambling, and I essentially blew that whole 60,000 in. It wasn't probably 60,000; it might have been like 40 by the time I'd like paid rent and stuff like that. But I basically blew through $40,000, and that kind of started like a 5-year cycle of me kind of like essentially just every single time I got money, I would gamble it basically for a solid like 5 or 6 years. And it was a bit of a roller coaster, my early to mid 20s. And then around, kind of like around 26, 27, I started to I decided that I needed to kind of like get out of that cycle. So I started to like look for, some more mature decisions and some more responsible decisions to kind of like start coming back into the real world and start trying to live life again. And essentially that's kind of when I started to look towards Nick and this opportunity and trading. Obviously there's some time in between where I started to clean up my act a little bit, but I kind of just went straight into trading from there. So that's, it's a bit of a detailed view of my gambling background. And yeah.
Just to come back again, I think what I like about that is your honesty. You just said you're the product of an environment. People gamble. So you cleaned up your act. You've got into taking this opportunity without delving into it too much and getting involved in the nitty gritty. How did you find that transition to trying to trade on a daily basis?
In the beginning, it was fine because I was like, I didn't have too many responsibilities. I was still kind of like learning the ropes. It didn't really affect me too much, I think, because I still didn't really know. I think I was too like bright-eyed about like the possibilities of trading and learning that skill set. So it didn't really play too much of a role in the beginning. After a few months, once I started to get the hang of it and started to like really dip my toes in, it would pop its head up from time to time, like this kind of like gambling mentality. And the thing is, like, it's very much a double-edged sword because the reason that Nick kind of felt like I could be a good trader was because of my ability to understand when to put risk on. But the ability to know when to put risk on, the other side of that sword is the ability to know when not to put risk on. And so if I find myself being presented with an opportunity that, like, 5 other guys get presented to, I am most likely, because of my background, like if it's an A+ setup, for example, I'm most likely out of those 5 guys to know when to put the risk on, right? So it works in my favor sometimes. The other side to that coin, obviously, is sometimes when I'm like a little bit rattled or like I've had a shitty morning, I struggle to know when to actually pull it back. So that it's like Jekyll and Hyde, right? And yeah, 2 sides of the same coin that I'm still really trying to learn to live with. And like when I'm trading well, when the market's there, when there's liquidity and there's volatility and there's options galore, like I find it easy to kind of put it at bay and kind of like trade what's in front of me. But when the market's slower and, things have dried up and opportunities aren't as ripe, that's when it kind of rears its head and I kind of get a little bit too hands-on when I should be observing and being disciplined, kind of thing.
It sounds like, Sav, you said you were really passionate about the golf when you're into it really hardcore, and then the gambling you went all in. And then is that the case, you think, that with the trading too, you're just going all in and wanting to be doing it regardless of whether you should?
People have like a lot of people in my life have said stuff like that to me, like, you get a bit obsessive and you get a bit like too all in with stuff, like too all in, too like, kind of not knowing how to like piece in the stuff, not knowing how to like, just ease into stuff, like sample or build into a growing confidence and then kind of like get to a certain place, right? Rather than like, getting a taste, thinking it's all good and then,
yeah. I mean,
kind of like.
I don't think that's a dissimilar thing to most people. So many people just get an idea and just, whether it's all in or they just want the end before they've gone through the journey, whether that's trading or an investment or, I don't want to wait, I just want to go straight for it. And then that.
The idea of running before you walk and walking before you crawl, like it's an affliction that I feel like, a lot of us kind of deal with. Like we get a taste of something, we get excited and we want to start fucking running. We want to Usain Bolt all over that thing. And we haven't even really learned how to walk yet. And yeah, I definitely get that. And I definitely, it's definitely a relationship that I'm still striving for. And I think this is like, the overarching idea and principle of kind of like why I feel like I wanted to talk about this on this show is the fact that like trading really challenges us with all of this stuff all of the time. Like it doesn't stop. There is never one single day that goes by where all of these things that are innately human, the idea of walking before you run and the idea of, managing your emotions and all of these ideas I'm being tested with on a daily basis. Like I'm going to war with myself every single day with this stuff. And it's why I love trading.
We're starting to scratch the surface now, which is really good. And I think from memory, listening to one of your trading diaries, which is pinned on your Twitter profile, which is absolutely a good listen. You talked about some of the strategies that you had, like you had a good day, you would stop trading, or you would, can you walk us through some of the strategies and, without getting tied up on the nuts and bolts of the trading, I guess?
So strategies in terms of like how I trade or stuff that I use to manage my kind of mental game?
Yeah, I think managing the mental game, because I think that's what everyone, even if you're day trading, you're speculating or investing in, because essentially you're battling your own emotions. You see something going up, you see something going down, and that elicits a emotional response. So,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think today's like a pretty good example, and something I can talk about. So this morning I short Novonics in the match, and it was a very how can you say it, loose trading idea. It ended up costing me roughly $6,000 pretty quickly. And it really tapped me out mentally. My mental capital shot pretty quickly, basically inside of 15 minutes, which is generally when I make all my money. So it was kind of challenging. But what was it kind of messed me up a little bit because Weebit had that news announcement, and then there was a pretty decent opportunity to short Weebit. And in fact, like if I was like more switched on, the Weebit short would have almost covered the Novonics mess up if I was smart enough. But anyway, I messed it up. So I decided at 11:06, I needed to pull the pin. So I just got up, took my dog to the park, ran around with her, kicked the ball with her, got some sun, and then went for a bit of a jog, got a banh mi, and then I basically sat at a park and contemplated life and whether or not I'm actually meant to be a trader. And then after I self-soothed, I returned back to the market at like 2:30, and then I watched this thing called KNI. I can't remember. That's a ticker. I can't remember the name. It's been going crazy in the last couple of weeks. Anyway, I traded it into the close and traded it fairly well into the close and kind of like almost, kind of halved my loss for the day. So, the kind of the takeaways there and something that I tend to do pretty frequently is one, get away from the screen. Like if I feel like I'm getting a little bit too obsessed, because that's definitely something I can do. I can overtrade stuff, revenge trade, get too big in stuff. Chase stuff, FOMO, all those things that kind of start creeping in if I've had like a bad start to the day or if I'm, just a little bit on edge. One of the things, the first thing is get away from the screen. And then the second thing is like redirect my energy just for doesn't have to be long. It just needs to be long enough to like break that, like to be a circuit breaker, just to like let my brain settle. Because like when I'm in that, state, when I'm just like disarray, in a state of disarray because I've just like toasted myself taking this really horrible trade idea, it's really hard to then start to think clearly, i.e. with the Weebit short, like I wasn't thinking clearly, so I didn't trade it well, et cetera, et cetera. But if I came into that with a fresh mind, that Weebit trade was enough to kind of like make my week, maybe even make my month if I'd have nailed it. It's all about like resetting your brain because, and the beauty of kind of day trading is you get that reset every day. Like when the market reopens the next day, as long as you're not holding anything overnight, you get that reset. It's built in. So that's why I wake up every morning like feeling refreshed and reinvigorated. Like, oh fuck yeah! Oh damn yeah! I get to start again. I get to start again. But if it kind of happens in the middle of the day or in the morning where I feel like I need that reset, like, there are certain things that I do, like taking my dog to the park. I got a boxing bag hung up in my garage. I go hit that for like 30 minutes, get some energy out, get some sweat out. Basically anything you do to put that circuit breaker in. And then I find it really important at the end of the day, obviously write down where you could have done better. Obviously do some review. But the last thing you want to do is lament and just like, take that weight with you throughout the evening. Like the last thing you want to do is like go hang out with, like say go hang out with my girlfriend or go spend some time with my girlfriend and my dog. The last thing I want to do is take that energy with me to be with them. Like, cause they don't deserve that, or they don't have any idea what's just going on. Like I need to leave that behind. Like, do the review, learn where I could have done better, but then leave it in front of the screen and then go live the rest of my life, come back to it tomorrow and have another crack. Because, we're not going to win every trade. We're not going to nail every trade. But we will get an opportunity to trade again if we can, put the right things in place to make sure that when we have that next opportunity, we're ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, really insightful, Sav. And it's hard for us because we're not day trading. So we have to come back and remind ourselves that these are high conviction speculative investments, which most of our listeners or people in the game will probably hold stuff overnight. So we don't have that. But I do remember starting out 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I changed careers, and I would always write stuff down and I would always write down on my mistakes. And I found that quite therapeutic. But when you're then and there, you want to, like you just did evidence, you want to double down. You want to make that loss back. And I think that's the really, really hard thing about sort of taking a step away. And it's easy for us to say, but actually doing that is really, really hard. So have you got like a system in place? Like if I hit X on a loss of % of capital, that's it, I'm out? Like, because it's easier said than done.
No, not really. Not really. Like, no, like honestly, like I feel like once actually it's more like a time thing. For me, it's a time thing. So if I get to like 11 a.m. and I've just blown up my morning, I just need to get away from the screen. Like, because I'm not going to make it back during the middle of the day. If anything, I might find something in the evening. Oh, sorry, the afternoon. Like generally like something might either break down or break out in the afternoon, which I might be able to trade. But the kind of grind that happens throughout like the middle of the day, generally like, 11 to or 11:30 to say like 2:30, that just becomes chop that I know that if I'm sitting in front of the screen and I'm seething from the morning, I'm only going to find myself getting stuck in. So I'd rather just so it becomes a time thing. Just get away from the screen, come back at 2:30. If anything presents itself, now I'm kind of looking at it with new eyes and hopefully not taking into account the mistakes of the morning. And then I can, trade it with a fresh set of eyes. And but that's not going to happen in the middle of the day. So I guess to answer your question, it's more like a time thing. There's no like dollar amount. Like I can blow up the morning to any degree and still kind of be okay with it as long as I can come back to the afternoon session with fresh eyes.
Okay, so that time thing, that's really good. If you've made money in that first hour, is it still the same process? Is it up off the screen? Don't get cocky, don't get greedy.
Yeah, same thing. Because it works that way as well. Like if I've absolutely smashed the morning, then I might start to kind of like feel myself a little bit, like, get a little bit too fancy throughout the middle of the day, try some exotic trades that I don't generally try to trade. I don't want to give back. So I will like leave for like an hour and a half, go exercise, go play with the dog. And then I'll come back, say 2:30 again. And I do have a bit of a tendency to give back sometimes, like where I might try those trades. But I know that at least there's a higher probability of them working in the afternoon. During the middle of the day, they're not going to work at all. So right. Yeah.
Brilliant. So just coming back for anyone listening or picking this up for the first time, it's about a process, right? You write every day, you diarize every day at the end of the day, what worked, what didn't, things to improve on, things that.
So what I do is I got a couple of different strategies when it comes to diarising and keeping like mental track of where I'm at and what I'm doing in life. Like, so I have my trading journal, I have Samika, which everyone has, which is a trading journal, which kind of keeps your trading stats, and you can keep track of your entry quality, exit quality, stuff like that, and your win rate and your P&L, and that's interesting. But it's kind of, I think for the most part, unless there's something like real obvious, for the most part, that's kind of, there's a lot of that's just vanity. What's kind of probably more important is the what do you call it? The note, Evernote. So I just keep like a report card every day on Evernote, where I kind of go through and, like I set myself a goal at the beginning of each day. Did I achieve that goal? What do I need to do better tomorrow? So I'll do that every day. But then every morning, once a new day starts, I'll review the previous day in another diary. But this is primarily from the point of view of like where my head's at, like, and where was my head at. So I kind of, I try to write down every day what I felt and what I did the previous day. And just to kind of like, just to kind of keep myself accountable, because I feel like, kind of throughout my early 20s and mid 20s, when I was doing all the like craziness and gambling and losing money and just being silly, making a lot of silly decisions, one thing I did really well, probably more than lose money gambling, was actually lie to myself. I was really good at lying to myself. Like I would tell myself, like, it's all good. Like I'm making money. I'm making money as a poker player. But in reality, like I would make like maybe $500 playing poker, but I'd put $1,000 on the roulette table as I walked out, kind of thing. And, those little lies, like I got really good at lying to myself. And I think as traders, we can kind of do that as well. Like, especially when it comes to like charts. And this is something I was like joking with a mate of mine about the other day. Like, he's like really good at kind of like reading charts and knowing chart setups. And I got no idea about charts really. Like I can read a 1 minute chart and I can scalp based on a 1 minute chart, but daily charts and understanding where, what kind of setups are about to, break out or break down or whatever. I don't really know enough about that, but I was talking to my mate about this and not to throw shade at anyone who's like a chartist or, is really good at reading or, setting up charts. But we're talking about how when you're putting together like trade ideas based off of charts, it can be really subjective. And I think that the idea that came to me was off of the back of watching a lot of these crypto guys talking about charts. And I don't know if it's similar at all to how like, equities guys talk about swing trading based off of charts. I don't know if there's any correlation there, but I was watching these like crypto traders and crypto enthusiasts talk about charts. And the way they were talking about it was just like so head in the cloud stuff. It was like, oh, do you know what? We got the 50-day EMA here. And if that breaks down, then we got the 200-day for support. And then, there's, and they just kind of kept on coming up with excuses for why it's still worth staying in this trade. And I don't know, like it just sounded like you were just looking for an excuse to stay in a trade, really. And you're just kind of lying to yourself. I feel like that's something that we all can do as humans. Like we can lie to ourselves like, oh, you know what? Like it's not that bad of an idea because I kind of got some good out of it. But in reality, no, it was a bad idea. You just kind of got lucky. So one thing I tried to start doing about 1.5 years ago was writing down every day how I thought and felt, because I knew that if I wrote it down, I couldn't lie to myself. Like if it was just in my head, I could lie to myself as much as I wanted. I could make things up. I could make things seem smaller or bigger than I wanted them to be. But if I started writing it down and then I had to like read it, like a month later, I would know exactly how I felt. And I would rather deal with that, however harsh that truth is, than being, led astray by my own kind of like inadequacies or flaws or whatever. So that's a really big thing that I added about 18 months ago. And yeah, it's been pretty big for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic, mate. I journal since COVID, to be honest, and not just for trading purposes, but it's really about thoughts and feelings. And I find that really helpful to go back to, because it can pinpoint a specific feeling. And just when you mentioned, what you just mentioned before about the EMAs or whatever, we don't want to get too much into nuts and bolts, but essentially,
I don't know. I don't even know what they are. Sorry.
That's good. People can make a lot of money early and sometimes lucky. And I think everyone we've spoken to throughout this series is saying the worst thing you can do is make money early or make it. I think you're really, really successful all the time, and it can be a recipe for disaster. So I liken it to the idea that it's got to be process driven, and it comes back to that point that you said about running before you can walk. Like, you can't just come into this and make heaps of money, or you might have made money. But if you don't have the process in place, how is that going to serve you in the times that aren't so good, or in different challenging times?
Totally.
I guess what I want to come back to as well, which is something that's been burning at me for a while, and I think we have to comment on it, is social media has become almost integral now to trading.
Yeah.
And, there's lots of people out there that are great resources, but you mentioned FOMO earlier, and that's one of the hardest things I grapple with, is when you're trying to find information, or, you're looking for the ticker codes. There's a lot of people showing off and are doing well. Have you got any tips? Have you gone through that sort of evolution of how you deal with that, or do you just block out noise?
Well, I'm kind of dealing with it right now. And like, I don't know if there's necessarily a tip or anything, but I can just share my experience and that might, I don't know, someone might be able to glean something from that. But yeah, so social media is something that, and my relationship with social media is something that I've always, it's been a tricky one. It's been a tricky one because on the one hand, I'm also a hip hop artist, and being a hip hop artist and, wanting to be an independent artist and put out music, you almost have to rely on these platforms a lot of the time, like to post your content and have a relationship with fans and share new music, share new video, all that stuff. But it can often get a little bit overwhelming. And I don't know if this is a real term, but I call it red dot fever, where you look at your screen and you've got all the notifications, and you kind of like, sometimes it's a good thing because it gives you that little release, not a good thing, but it can seem like a good thing because you see who wants to interact with me, or who wants to send me a message. You kind of get a little bit G'd up. You get that, is it dopamine hit? And conversely, when it's not there, you get a little bit let down, like, oh, what? No one liked that post, or no one wanted to interact with me, or so it's a very dangerous place. And I think it's, we're not going to know for years, I think, how detrimental this little experiment has been. But I kind of got a feeling that the amount of anxiety that is being kind of dispersed throughout, like, at least, our generation and down, is, I think it's hectic. I think it's really hectic. Like, I've got a 12-year-old sister, and there's already some things popping up with her relationship with TikTok and stuff like that. Anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but essentially, so Twitter was something that I turned to back in maybe May last year. I started posting results daily, and I did it initially because I wanted to. Well, Nick's my mentor. Nick's one of my best friends. He does it, and I don't know, I kind of saw him doing it, and I thought, well, maybe there's some value in this. Maybe if I can, and I wasn't putting up huge numbers, so it wasn't like I was trying to swing my dick, but I felt like it was something that could keep me kind of accountable. Like, I had already had like a bit of I had a bit of a rapport with some of the people on Twitter, and I thought, maybe if I can post my results every day, and I've got these people like that are watching for them, maybe that'll kind of keep me in line, and maybe letting them down might be enough motivation to kind of stay disciplined. And I don't know, maybe that's not the best reason to do something, but I thought, what the hell? And being someone who kind of likes attention anyway, as a hip hop artist and as like a, you know, I've always enjoyed public speaking. I've always enjoyed the attention and the limelight. So I thought that it could be like an extra string to my bow, so to speak. So yeah, I started posting every day. I'd post like reviews. I posted monthly reviews. And I talked to lots of people on Twitter, and I've met some really amazing people on Twitter. And honestly, like I've met, some really great people on Twitter. But yeah, there is a dark element to it, and that FOMO and that you know, the big noting and stuff like that. That is a real part to it, and it's okay when things are going well, as they did for like 12 to 18 months for a lot of traders, a lot of swing traders, a lot of investors, whatever, day traders. Everyone basically, I think most people had like a pretty solid 12, 18 months on the COVID climb back. But once that dried up, and people are like, some people are still kind of posting good stuff. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, they're still making money. Why aren't I making money? And you can kind of, and that's kind of what happened to me. Like the pressure of having to post to people day in, day out, and then deal with those responses and reactions. It kind of just caught me in this like this cycle that ended up just getting a little bit toxic, where I was like posting bad results, like trading bad, then posting bad results, and having to explain to people why and how and stuff like that. And it ended up just becoming like a bit of a, just a bit of a toxic place for me. Not because anyone else is doing anything necessarily, but because you don't get the full picture, because you're not getting all the details all the time, because you're only just getting the highlights and the snapshots, you can easily start to paint your own picture. You can fill in the blanks yourself. And if you're having to do that more often than not, it can get a little bit dangerous. Yeah, look, I honestly, like, this is the only tip that I could have for the social media relationship. Do less of it, as little as you can. Like, go in there with a purpose, like get on there with a purpose, and then get the fuck off. Because if you get stuck there for any amount of time, it can get real dangerous. It can get real messy. It can get real sticky. And I don't care how like disciplined or strong or, you know, strong-willed or whatever you think you are, like that place can create, you know, it's full of landmines. And you don't know which one you're going to step on any given day. Like you might be the, you know, most diligent, disciplined person in the world, but you might have had an off morning. You jump on Twitter on that day and everything could change. So like go in there with a purpose, know exactly what you're looking for, and then get off, because you know, you don't want to wander around there aimlessly. It gets real dangerous then.
Yeah. No, I think that's well said, because I can hear myself in what you're saying, because I remember being, you know, 10 years ago when Hot Copper was all it was. There wasn't Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And I used to spend hours posting and, you know, wanting that validation. And I don't know when it happened. Maybe it was maturity. Maybe it was just getting old. I realized that's not actually helping me. That's not actually going to make me any money. You know, I might be right, I might be wrong. You know, you can be long and wrong for fucking ages, whatever. You've got to have rules in place, and even similar. Like I find myself getting upset quite often, and you know, I made a rule to myself. You know, I just put my phone away at the end of the night. I don't even bother checking on Twitter. Like I go on there to check a code to see what something's talking about, and that's it. I'm out. I'm off.
Yeah. There's probably two things that I have introduced more recently is I don't look at my phone before like 8:30. So once I get up, like I go for a walk and I do like all my morning routine. And then I don't actually probably not till 9 o'clock. Like I'll sit at the computer, I'll sit at the desk, I'll start doing my morning prep. And then after I've got like an hour of prep in and I've kind of like on top of the day and I'm into the day, then I'll open my phone and kind of like look at some stuff and check on stuff, and then converse like at the end of the day. I'm still working on the end of the day, like still needs some fine tuning, but yeah, I'm trying to just put it away earlier.
I think it's interesting because whether it's short-term day trading, short-term trading, or investing, usually if you're spending your own money, you're working by yourself and with yourself. So I think it's one of the reasons we all seek out, whether it's validation or just like someone to do it with. And it's one of the unique aspects of anything on the markets is your decisions are made by yourself, for yourself, and you're ultimately accountable. And it's not a team job like most other pursuit or many other pursuits are.
Yeah.
Makes it really interesting. Yeah. I think that's a part of the reason that people seek out and we
totally.
validation.
Totally. And you know what? You can have, like, I've formed some pretty good bonds with some people on Twitter, and I've met some really good people on Twitter, and one of the guys on Twitter that started interacting with me when I started posting results, we ended up becoming really good mates, and he's now one of my best mates, and it can have its place, but you just got to be ready to look for the right stuff, because it is a needle in a haystack a lot of the time, and if you're ready to find that needle, then give it a crack.
Yeah, I was just going to say, coming back to my original point, I certainly don't want to say that people should be avoiding Twitter or Hot Copper. There are plenty of, intelligent posters and plenty of good people in all walks of life.
Totally.
I met Joel through Hot Copper and a mutual friend. So, there's a good friendship, and this podcast wouldn't have been. And just coming back to just talking the gristle, that's what Joel and I used to do for ages before deciding to do this podcast, I guess. But
awesome.
Coming back to that, I think you mentioned it, and I think this is probably one of your strategies, but just to come back, just so everyone's got something documented. Are you saying that everybody needs to find like a mentor or someone to talk stocks or talk something about, because you don't want to be going to your loved ones with these problems at the end of the day either?
No, you do not. Oh God,
it sounds obvious, but maybe some people are getting started and
Yeah, no, I know, but it's just funny because that's exactly what happened today. And after I blew up in Novonix this morning, I came upstairs and I'm like stomping around, and my girlfriend's like, how can I help? I'm like, you can't help this. No one can help me. Just like so dramatic, like the world's about to end. Okay. So sorry, but no, that is it. That it is a really good point. Like the last, like you want to let people in small amounts slowly, so they pick it up. You also don't want to put it on them if they don't care, or if they don't want to know. But yeah, finding, like, I don't know about necessarily finding a mentor, but definitely finding someone or a group of people that you can at least bounce ideas off of. The last thing you want to do, and make sure, and like this comes down to the individual. You definitely don't want to get involved in a group with a group of people that are just kind of just where it just becomes an echo chamber for your bad ideas. Like you really want to get involved with people that will tell you you're an idiot if you're being an idiot. Like you really want people who are going to tell you black and white, like what they think of you, and like whether or not you've got good ideas or whatever. Like, it's nice to kind of like be told we got good ideas, and it's nice to kind of know that we're on the right track. But a punch in the face is just as relevant when it comes to learning sometimes. And, you need to be around people that are willing to do that. Like, because they're not doing it because they dislike you. They're doing it because they love you. They want you to, sharpen up. So yeah, I'm blessed with the fact that like the person who has the most influence on my trading is also someone who does love me. Like he's one of my best friends and he wants me to do well. So if I do something dumb, he's going to tell me, hey, you got to stop being a dickhead. And, I'm very lucky in that sense. And I would encourage everyone to find, it might not be someone that that well, but like you just kind of get an inkling you're on the same page. I encourage everyone to find someone that's going to tell them, like obviously encourage you when you're doing well, but you want someone who's going to tell you no when you're wrong.
No, I think that's really good where you said that you need someone to challenge you. And I think I liken it to, and was this on your Twitter video where, someone asked you the question, how do I get a mentor? And I think you said you shouldn't be trying to find a mentor. Someone's going to come to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. When the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And you know, I've had experiences like this. Like I'm in no way, shape or form ready to mentor someone. Like I'm still a long way from figuring it out myself. But because of like the results I was posting and just kind of some of the months I put together in the last 12 months, obviously I had a lot of people hitting me up on Twitter just saying, hey, can I buy you a beer? Hey, can I get you a coffee? You know, wanting me to mentor them. And I don't know, I just, even if I felt like I was ready to be a mentor, that's not the energy. Like, you know, you got to provide value before you can ask for value. And in anything that you can do, in anything that you do. And the people that I actually ended up gravitating towards, and the guys that I started like this chat with, are two guys that like came to me day in and day out for months and just talked to me like as a dude and just like kind of got on the same level as me. And to the point where I started like sharing some insights with them, helping them out a little bit, providing feedback for them, telling them honestly what I thought about their ideas. You know, and that didn't happen just because they walked up to me and said, hey, can you show me, or hey, can you be my mentor, or hey, can you give me all the secrets? It was because like, you know, they showed to me like over a long period of time that they were serious about what they were doing. They cared about what they were doing and they wanted to be better at it. You know, that's not saying I'm a mentor to these guys, but I've applied, I guess, some, you know, mentoring kind of like, you know, ideas with them and, you know, tried to help them a little bit.
Yeah, that reminds me. I think it's a matter of, like you said, providing value as well. I mean, I think we had Harley Grosser on and he said he was writing up articles and he sent them to Roger Montgomery, who was a big person at the time, like providing information and value to people that you're seeking assistance from. Yeah. Like not just trying to extract something from somebody else.
Yeah, it seems obvious, but it seems obvious to me because I don't know, I guess my mum and dad raised me to like, you know, not to just straight out ask people for something before you've kind of like got to know them a little bit. But like you see it so often on Twitter, like people will like not know you from a bar of soap, but just like feel confident and comfortable to just ask you for something. And I don't know what it is, but I just, that ain't the right energy. And like, you know, I'm nervous as hell about asking people for anything until I have given something to them or until like, you know, we've formed a bond. Like, yeah, you know, people kind of like thinking that because you're putting yourself out there and because you're like, you know, putting yourself kind of like, you know, it looks like you're being a little bit vulnerable by posting on Twitter and, you know, sharing all this information. You know, they feel like there's an opening to, you know, then kind of like push the envelope even further. Whereas like, you know, just that ain't how real life works. Like imagine just meeting someone in the street and just asking straight up if they want to get married without even knowing their name. But Twitter doesn't, or like social media in general kind of like, you know, removes like the steps, the normal steps of like a conversation. They, you know, it's like, yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, certainly the case. Social media is very different to real life in all regards. I guess on the same sort of topic, is there anything else you do sort of proactively to make sure you're not finding yourself insulated from the outside world and things, if this is effectively like a day job?
Yeah. Yeah, I have the benefit of, so a couple of those guys that I did meet on Twitter, we ended up kind of, two specifically, we formed a really strong bond just over months of just kind of like getting to know each other and you know, having just really similar interests and we ended up becoming really good mates and yeah, so we kind of started a little kind of group, I guess you could say. So we kind of like talk on a daily basis, just about trade ideas and yeah, so there's one outlet there, and then obviously having Nick, you know, be obviously a trader, but also one of my best mates. We talk almost, we talk every day. We talk multiple times a day, every day. And he's like, you know, probably my biggest champion when it comes to trading, and easily my biggest support when it comes to trading. Like, just being able to like roll ideas off of and just talk shit. Like sometimes it's just about talking shit at the end of the day, not necessarily talking about trading, but decompressing. Yeah. So yeah, they're probably the two main ones.
That's really insightful, Sab. Do you have anything else with a view to time, obviously, and talking about what you're up to now? Is there any other strategies you don't think we covered off that if I'm listening to this for the first time and I want to get into trading, but also speculating and you know, finding my feet, what you would give listeners?
Oh God. Balance. I would say balance and so probably three things: balance, working your way in, like starting small, kind of like crawling first, and then consistency. So, and I don't think anyone gets anywhere in life without those three things. Like, you know, you want to get obsessed in the beginning because you're learning like a new thing, but you don't want to let it like ruin your life or your relationships or anything else that you're doing. So you want to get balance right. You want to put the right amount of hours in, and make sure that everything else in your life is getting equal amount of attention. You don't want to go, you know, balls deep into like learning how to trade and then stop like jogging to like keep your fitness up or stop talking to your wife or whatever. So that's probably one thing I would say, balance. And that's something that you know, I'm still working on. Like I get really interested and really quickly sidetracked by all these things that I like learn about, hobbies, whether it's podcasting or the trading spaces thing, or, you know, I'm kind of constantly, you know, shiny object syndrome kind of thing. So yeah, so and then the next one is probably crawling before you walk, in terms of like starting small, testing stuff, writing stuff down exactly how it happened, and then building slowly, building over time. Like it's not going to happen in 3 months. It's not going to happen in 6 months, but it will happen. So like be okay with that. Be okay with the fact that it's going to take time. And like, you know, our life is like a stock chart. You know, it doesn't go, like, most of the time it doesn't go in a straight line. You know, there's pullbacks. There's, you know, there's down periods, there's flat periods, but essentially most good charts, they go up over time. And so like, be okay with that. Be okay with the fact that it's going to take time to go back up again. So yeah, giving it time. And then what was the last thing? Consistency. So like showing up every single day, and just doing a bit. Like, you don't have to do a lot, but do a bit, do something every single day.
That is absolutely fantastic, Sav. You mentioned something that really resonates about being okay with it, you know, and saying, and I like to listen to lots of podcasts, and I've said it before, you know, it's okay to be not okay. And just coincidentally, it is happens to be Are You Okay Day. So
it is.
We hope all those listeners out there who are listening at another stage in their lives are okay.
Yeah.
But those three bits there are beautiful bits of advice. And you talk about balance, the things you're passionate about. Tell us what you're up to now, Sav. Tell us about trading spaces and some of your music.
So before I go on to talking about me, then just to the Are You Okay reference, like I actually, so on Monday morning, I just sent out I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to message a bunch of people that I love. Like I messaged like, you know, 5 of my friends, and then I just messaged 5 of my friends. I just said, hey, I love you. Hope you're having a good day. Have a great week. Thinking about you. Something like that, right? Just to give them a little pep in their step, right? And one of the guys who messaged me back is one of my best mates, who I hadn't spoken to just for whatever reason. And he actually messaged me back going, hey, dude, really grateful that you sent this. I've just been struggling the last couple of weeks, and I needed that kind of thing. And, you know, even me, like I received a message today from a South African guy that I know that's been following my music for like a couple of years. He just messaged me out of the blue going, hey, Sav, you know, one of your lyrics in this particular song that I released years ago just gave me inspiration today. Like, and he just sent me that out of nowhere. And I had a shitty morning, obviously blowing up into Vonix, and I got that message, and it just like, you know, lit me up. It just made me feel so good. So yeah, just to that point, like, Are You Okay Day? Yeah, it's a great initiative and a great day, but you know, we're all struggling at certain points. And for the most part, we're not going to tell anyone. So just, you know, and I think that the more you can kind of like get outside of yourself in your own head and your own negativity and energy, and the more you can like look at other people and go, oh, do you know what? I wonder how they're going. One, it's going to take you out of your thing, out of your funk. And two, it's going to probably bring them up, which, you know, you get to share that energy. So yeah, reach out to people, tell them you love them, and yeah, check in on them.
Yeah, well said.
But yeah, so, and now I get to talk about myself again. So yeah, a bunch of things. So yeah, Trading Spaces has been going well. That's a live audio Twitter thing that I'm doing. I have been doing it fairly frequently. Like we've done 6 of them now. They've actually been going really well. Like I've been really pleasantly surprised with how they've been going. So I want to keep doing that. Probably not as frequently because I'm struggling to keep up with the workload at the moment. But I want to keep going with them. Tomorrow there isn't going to be one because it's my birthday tomorrow, so I'm going to take a day off. I want to just get drunk basically. So yeah, I'm going to take tomorrow off. But apart from that, like music, in terms of music, I have a new single coming out in 2 weeks with my brother. So we make hip hop music together, and we've got a new EP coming out called Dutch Boys, which will be coming out in about a month. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's me.
No, that's great. And Trading Spaces, just so anyone's not aware, how do they find you? How do they find Trading Spaces? And it's Friday afternoons generally, isn't it? After the close. Yeah.
So we were doing it at 5 p.m. on a Friday arvo. We did one last week. We're going to skip this week. Probably come back again next week. So yeah, you go on to Twitter, and then you can either go to my profile or look up. So they have like a Spaces tab where you can find all the running spaces. But if not, you can just go to my profile and it should show this like little purple thing that indicates that I'm running a Spaces event. And yeah, basically you just click on there and listen into live audio of me talking to other traders about trading related stuff. You can ask questions and stuff like that. The audience has been pretty solid, anywhere from like 160 to 250 guests live, which has been, yeah, pretty, like really, really happy with that. And yeah, my Twitter handle is Savilian Raps. So you can go have a look there. But also I've been recording them and putting them up on my podcast platform, which is called Slaaap Haaapy. So I have a podcast which you can find like any podcasting platforms or on YouTube. So all the content basically you can find on my YouTube as well. Yeah.
Cool. I'm will link to all those in the show notes obviously as well. But I think your Twitter bio has got a good like link to everything from when I last looked.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it does that. Yeah.
Well, so this is normally the bit at the end of the show where we ask you for your 10-bagger, but I know that that's not going to be something you hold. So you technically, you get a pass from that. But just remind the listeners what your 3 strategies were again for someone starting out.
Oh, geez. I talked so much I can't remember.
Balance.
Yeah.
Consistency.
So balance, consistency, and what was the third one? Sam, take it away.
I think it was not crawling before you walk, but yeah, maybe that was.
No, that was pretty much it. It was just, they're probably the 3 things is getting the balance right, like not overcommitting, not undercommitting, like spending the hours, like screen time and market tuition are really, really important. And yeah, understanding that, it's not going to happen overnight. So make sure you stay in the game. Actually, no, let's add 4, stay in the game, because I feel like that's probably I feel like that's a really important one. Staying in the game for as long as you can, because I feel like, you're not going to, all the real like important lessons that you need to kind of like be successful in anything don't happen instantly. You need to see them unravel over time. And if you're not in the game, if you've like dipped out because you got salty or whatever, then you're not going to allow those wins and those lessons and those moments to catch up to you. So, if you really believe in something and you really love something, stay in the game long enough for those lessons to catch up to you.
That's brilliant, that last one, because that really ties in with the whole premise of this show, which is, finding 10 baggers, and you're not going to find them straight away. You're going to find them over years and years of consistency and staying in the game.
100%.
A lot of people have said that at the start, that they've made money and they've blown themselves up, and then they've continued to craft, being consistent, and that's where you find the 10 baggers. Just to wrap up though, Sav, thank you so much for this content, and you've been so honest and sharing, and it fills my cup. And I know you've used that word in other episodes of yours, to have these sorts of conversations, because I've been wanting to do this for a while. That's essentially what speculating or investing is. It's you're fighting your demons every day, and your emotions to ultimately be successful.
Yeah.
So,
can I just say something before like I sign off? If anyone has listened to this and thought like, I kind of don't really know what he's saying and want to know more, just like feel free to hit me up, because I'm not anyone special. I'm not anyone like, I haven't come from a university and scalping or whatever. I've just like got given an opportunity, and I'm still someone who struggles with bullshit like every single day, but I'm trying my absolute hardest to be better. And I think if you're just doing that, like you're on the right path. So if anyone listens to this and they're kind of battling, with whatever, feel free to hit me up, because I'm always happy to talk.
That's a really generous offer, Sav. Thank you very much. I'm sure you may hear from people.
Awesome.
Thanks again for joining us, Sav. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've enjoyed every minute of it, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Joel.
Music in this episode is called 10 Minutes by Green Monday and from twinmusicom.org. Remember, the contents of this show is not financial advice. If you have questions or need more information about your own circumstances, make sure to contact a professional financial advisor.